The neon-soaked streets of Night City pulsed with a sickly artificial heartbeat as Lucy stumbled through the crowd, her cybernetic implants glitching and sparking beneath her skin. Blood trickled from her nose, a crimson testament to the toll her latest job had taken. She wiped it away with a trembling hand, leaving a smear across her pale face like war paint. "David," she whispered, her voice lost in the cacophony of the city. "I'm sorry." Memories flashed before her eyes, fragments of a life shattered beyond repair. David's smile, now forever frozen in death. Rebecca's laughter, silenced by a hail of bullets. Maine's strong presence, reduced to ashes. Each recollection was a knife twisting in her gut, a reminder of all she had lost. Lucy's feet carried her through the neon labyrinth, past leering faces and grasping hands. The city was a predator, and she was wounded prey. She could feel its hungry gaze upon her, waiting for the moment she would falter. A figure emerged from the shadows, his face a patchwork of scars and chrome. "Lucy," he growled, his voice like gravel in a meat grinder. "Faraday's looking for you. Says you owe him." Lucy's hand instinctively went to the pistol at her hip. "Tell Faraday he can go fuck himself," she spat, her eyes wild with a mixture of fear and defiance. The man's laugh was a harsh, metallic sound. "Oh, I'll tell him, but you know he won't take no for an answer." Before Lucy could react, the man's arm transformed into a vicious blade. He lunged forward, the edge whistling through the air. Lucy's Sandevistan implant kicked in, slowing time to a crawl. She watched the blade inch closer, reflecting the garish neon lights. With a fluid motion, she ducked under the attack and drew her pistol in one smooth movement. Time snapped back to normal as Lucy fired. The man's head exploded in a shower of blood, bone, and circuitry. His body crumpled to the ground, twitching and sparking. Lucy stood over the corpse, her chest heaving. The crowd around her barely reacted, stepping over the body as if it were nothing more than trash. In Night City, death was just another show. "I need to get out," Lucy muttered, holstering her weapon. "I need to forget." As if in answer to her desperate plea, a hollow screen flickered to life nearby. A face appeared, androgynous and beautiful in an unsettling way. "Tired of the pain?" the figure asked, its voice a hypnotic purr. "Want to escape the prison of your memories? Come to Vex. We can make you forget." Lucy stared at the screen, transfixed. The promise of oblivion was too tempting to ignore. With a shaky breath, she made her decision. The clinic was hidden in the bowels of the city, far from the prying eyes of Corpo security. Lucy followed the blinking arrows on her HUD, descending deeper into the darkness. The air grew thick with the stench of chemicals and despair. A door slid open, revealing a room bathed in an eerie blue light. In the center stood a figure, tall and lithe, with silver hair that seemed to float in an invisible breeze. "Welcome, Lucy," Vex said, their voice as smooth as silk. "I've been expecting you." Lucy's hand twitched towards her weapon, but Vex raised a placating hand. "No need for that. I'm here to help you, not harm you." "How do you know my name?" Lucy demanded, her voice hoarse. Vex's smile was both beautiful and terrifying. "I know everything about you, Lucy. Your pain, your loss, your desperate desire to forget. I can give you what you want." They gestured to a chair that looked more like an instrument of torture than a piece of furniture. Wires and tubes snaked from its surface, pulsing with an otherworldly light. "What is that?" Lucy asked, unable to keep the tremor from her voice. "Your salvation," Vex replied. "A new type of braindance. It will rewrite your memories, erase your pain. You'll be free." Lucy hesitated, her mind racing. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but the weight of her grief was crushing. With a shaky nod, she stepped forward. "Excellent," Vex purred. their fingers dancing over a control panel. "Just relax. This won't hurt a bit." As Lucy lowered herself into the chair, straps automatically tightened around her limbs. Panic surged through her, but it was too late. Needles pierced her skin, injecting a burning liquid into her veins. "Wait!" Lucy gasped, but her words were swallowed by darkness. She fell through an endless void, tumbling through fragments of memory. David's face swam before her, his eyes filled with love and sorrow. "Lucy," he called, his voice echoing in the emptiness. "Why did you leave me?" Lucy tried to reach for him, but her hands passed through his image like smoke. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I didn't mean to." The scene shifted, and Lucy found herself back in the Arasaka facility, where she had trained as a child. The sterile white walls were splattered with blood, and the screams of her fellow trainees filled the air. "You left us to die," a chorus of voices accused. Ghostly figures emerged from the walls, their bodies twisted and broken. Lucy recognized them as the children who hadn't survived the brutal training. "No," Lucy whimpered, backing away. "I had no choice." "There's always a choice," a new voice said. Lucy turned to see Maine standing before her, his body riddled with bullet holes. "You chose to run. You chose to survive while we died." Lucy fell to her knees, clutching her head. "Stop it! This isn't real!" Laughter echoed around her, cruel and mocking. The world twisted and warped, reality bending like a fun house mirror. Lucy found herself in a nightmarish version of Night City, where the buildings were made of writhing flesh and the streets ran with rivers of blood. Grotesque creatures lurched from the shadows, their bodies a horrifying fusion of metal and meat. Lucy ran, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear them behind her, their rasping breath and the scrape of metal on concrete. "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" Vex's voice whispered in her ear. "To forget? But you can't escape your guilt, Lucy. It's part of you now." Lucy stumbled and fell, landing hard on the blood-slicked ground. She rolled onto her back, watching in horror as the creatures closed in. Their faces were familiar. David, Rebecca, Maine, all twisted into monstrous parodies of themselves. "Join us, Lucy," they growled in unison, reaching for her with clawed hands. "Become one with the city. Become one with your pain." Lucy screamed, the sound tearing from her throat like a living thing. She lashed out blindly, her fists connecting with cold metal. With a gasp, Lucy's eyes snapped open. She was back in the chair, Vex looming over her with a look of fascination. "Extraordinary," Vex murmured. "Your mind is stronger than I anticipated." Lucy's body convulsed, fighting against the restraints. With a surge of desperate strength, she tore free, ripping the needles from her flesh. Vex stumbled backward, their perfect composure shattered. "Wait," they pleaded. "We're not finished." But Lucy was beyond reason. With a feral snarl, she lunged at Vex, her hands wrapping around their throat. They struggled, crashing into equipment and sending sparks flying. Lucy slammed Vex's head against the control panel again and again until their skull cracked like an egg. Blood and circuitry spilled out, revealing the truth of Vex's nature. Not human, but a grotesque hybrid of flesh and machine. Alarms blared as Lucy staggered from the room, her mind reeling. The hallways twisted and shifted, reality blending with the nightmare she had just escaped. She ran, not knowing where she was going, only that she had to get away. Time lost all meaning as Lucy fled through the depths of Night City. When she finally came to her senses, she found herself in a deserted alleyway, huddled against a wall. The sky above was a sickly green, choked with smog and neon. Lucy's laughter echoed off the grimy walls, a broken, desperate sound. She had tried to escape her memories, only to find that they were all she had left. With trembling hands, she activated her neural link. "Falco," she croaked, "I need a favor." Hours later, Lucy stood in a sterile white room, staring at the sleek shape of a lunar shuttle. Falco had come through, calling in every favor he owed to get her this one-way ticket to oblivion. "Are you sure about this?" Falco asked, his gruff voice tinged with concern. Lucy nodded, her eyes never leaving the shuttle. "It's the only way," she whispered. "The only way to be free." The journey passed in a blur of stars and silence. Lucy sat motionless, her mind replaying every moment that had led her to this point. Every loss, every betrayal, every fleeting moment of happiness that had been snatched away. When the shuttle finally touched down on the lunar surface, Lucy felt a strange calm settle over her. She suited up methodically, each movement precise and deliberate. The airlock hissed open, revealing the desolate beauty of the moon's surface. Lucy stepped out, her boots leaving perfect imprints in the dust. She walked forward, each step carrying her further from the shuttle and closer to her final destination. Lucy stopped at the edge of a crater, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. Earth hung in the sky, a blue marble swirling with white clouds. Somewhere down there was Night City, with all its pain and broken promises. "I made it, David," Lucy whispered, her voice crackling over the suit's calm, "just like I promised." With trembling hands, Lucy reached up and unsealed her helmet. The vacuum of space rushed in, stealing the breath from her lungs. She gasped, her body fighting against the inevitable. As consciousness faded, Lucy saw David's face one last time. He was smiling, reaching out to her. "Welcome home," he said. Lucy's lifeless body drifted in the lunar dust, her unseeing eyes fixed on the stars. In death, she had finally found the peace that had eluded her in life. The moon, once a symbol of hope and escape, became her final resting place. A cold, silent tomb for a soul too battered by life to go on. Back on Earth, in the depths of Night City, life continued its relentless pace. The neon lights flickered, casting shadows that hid 1,000 secrets. And somewhere in that urban maze, a new edgerunner took their first steps, unaware of the tragic fate that awaited them in the city that never forgives and never forgets.